This video is about why love usually isn't enough to fix an abusive relationship or situation. It's a really important question because if you think that it can, you might stay for a long time, try to help that person, try to make that happen. If love isn't enough to fix an abusive relationship or situation, then maybe a completely different decision is the right one. In this video, we'll go through 3 big reasons why usually love is not enough to make that kind of a change, and let's get into it. So the first reason that this is true is that people are usually projecting. What I mean is they're thinking about how they personally experience love, feel love, and act towards people that they love. And they are projecting that onto how they imagine the other person will act. So if they're very kind and forgiving towards people that they love, they are projecting and imagining that somebody else who says they love them will also be kind and forgiving. That's just one example out of many. And this goes for all of the different ways that they treat the person, prioritize the person, ideas about fairness, ideas about doing things for the other person even when they're hard, all of these things. It just is the entire set of what you think loving somebody means. And what it's important to really realize is that different people can both love each other and they can express that and mean very different things by that. And this is why this is the first reason that love is often not enough to fix an abusive situation, is that the person who thinks that love is enough to fix the abusive situation, they're right, but they're right if it was them. They're not right for the other person's kind of like internal definition of love, how they actually act when they're in love. And realizing that those are 2 different things and that like the way that you would act in that situation is not the same way that they would or everybody else would helps you to really knock that point home. And that brings us to the second main reason that love is often not enough to overcome an abusive relationship, which is that in reality, people often have many different priorities, needs, feelings, and emotions, and sometimes they prioritize those other things over love. So it's not that love doesn't exist or wasn't real, it's just it wasn't their top priority. You can easily see this if you think about the example of people sometimes cheating in relationships where both of the people love each other. That happens sometimes. And it's like, well, if love was always the most important thing that people prioritized when they made decisions, then cheating would never happen in loving relationships. But it does, and part of the reason why is that sometimes people love each other, but that other person chooses to put something else in that moment, or sometimes in many moments, as a higher priority. And to go one layer deeper on this, it's not just a simple question of what's their top priority, love or something else. It's actually, in a variety of different situations, what do they prioritize? In the situation where they're tired, what do they prioritize? In the situation where they're busy or had a bad day, what do they prioritize? In a situation where they've become a parent and their free time is permanently, massively reduced, what do they prioritize? And you start to see that it's not just about love being there or not being there, but it's a question of, is love the number 3 thing on the priority list, the number 1 thing on the priority list, or like the number 15 thing on the priority list? And that brings us to the third key topic about why love is often not enough to fix or change an abusive relationship, which is that over focusing on love can actually be counterproductive and even can, in some situations, make it worse. Now, let's look at some ways that can be true. The first and most basic is that if something isn't the cause of a problem, and if it's not the solution to a problem, then spending a bunch of your energy and time focusing on that thing is just going to drain you and kind of be this red herring that draws you in the wrong direction without actually addressing the problem. And if you think about some of the topics from earlier in the video, like how love could be there but mean something very different to 2 different people, or love could be there but not be the top priority, you can see that this really easily could be true. It could be that you're spending a ton of energy focusing on love and all of those things, and that's just, it's just draining your energy. It's just taking you in the wrong direction. A second way, though, that it could actually be counterproductive is you might go to great lengths to try to build up more love between the 2 of you. Or you might act in ways that, are showing love for you, like forgiveness or kindness or tolerance of certain behaviors, when that could be the opposite of what is needed in this situation. Like, that person might actually need really firm boundaries or even a breakup if they're acting in certain ways. Instead, if you think that love is the answer to it, you might enable that behavior, and you might, not to blame you for it, but you might kind of unintentionally, indirectly be almost doing the opposite of what would be the ideal thing to do in that situation. So it's not just that it's like not helping, it's that it actually often is the opposite of what is needed to do. And finally, and to me, this is one of the most important things in the entire video, just like real talk, is that I think that often people who are in that kind of a situation deeply care about that person, and they're struggling with this choice about what to do, about how, this person is someone they care about, but also this person is behaving in an extremely destructive or harmful way, in an unacceptable way. And it's like, what do you do about that? And that's a really difficult situation. And love can be one of these things that people focus on as almost like a excuse or a distraction or something that allows them to kick the can down the road and avoid facing that difficult decision. So they can ask themselves a lot of questions about this topic, some of the same questions from this video, and it can be easy. And again, I say this with empathy, right? It's not, this is a really hard situation, but it can be easy to make yourself feel like you're doing something by focusing on this, even if this is not actually the root cause. Thanks so much for watching. For more videos on this topic and helpful content, please feel free to check out the rest of the channel. Take care and good luck with your situation.